My hot take is that we are getting Drew McIntyre that causes Cody to lose this match. I forgot about the Jacob Fatu stuff. Never mind. Everyone pretend I didn't just say that. Because they're obviously doing something there.
They are.
So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
scratch that from your memory. It may or may not have happened.
Welcome to the Lariat Lounge. This is the home of smart takes, hard hits, and real talk. I'm your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens. Skeener, this weekend, brother, we're going to be upside down where the toilets go the other way because Crown Jewel Perth is all the way in Australia. So I'm hype about this match card because unlike WrestlePalooza, which granted, I gave it a little bit of flack, and I honestly, rightfully so in some instances, this card at Crown Jewel Perth is freaking stacked. This is a great card. I am excited about every single match on this card, and I don't think any one of these matches is going to be a letdown in any way. But before we even get into that, Skeener, how you doing, brother?
No. I'm going to flip it around because someone has had a birthday since we last recorded, so I want you to tell everyone how your birthday went.
Well, thank you for announcing that to the world. Yes, I had a birthday. My birthday went.
Well, they know you have one.
I mean, they know
they assume you were born at some point. Yeah.
I came out of the womb at some point in the span of the last 40 some years. So yes, I came into existence on this past Sunday, the October 5th. I'm not one, but yes, I had a birthday. The birthday was great. I got exactly what I wanted, Skeener, and that was absolutely nothing. I didn't want anything. And I don't mean that in like the benevolent, don't get me anything. I need nothing of this world. I wanted nothing. I just wanted to chill. You work a lot and you do this podcast, and I've been doing a bit of creative writing lately, man. I'm working on a book and I just got a lot going on. So when the birthday time came around, I told myself, dude, I don't want to do anything. I just want to chill out. I want to play some video games, eat some good food, put my household chores and my household duties off until Tuesday, and just chill. So I had a nice long 4-day weekend. It was great. Talked some family, talked some friends. It was good. I even talked to you.
You did. We, thanks to Instagram linking up Facebook accounts, we shared that birthday for about an hour until I figured out what was going on and that we had merged birthdays. But yeah, it was good. Glad to hear you had a nice, well-deserved, relaxing birthday, brother.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And now, how are you, Skeens? What's going on with you, brother?
Good. Got 4 new tires on my car for the first time with no help. Changed a car tire this weekend, and it didn't immediately fall off when I got on the road. So was excited about that. That's all. I'm happy. Hey, I have a functioning vehicle again. So
has that ever happened to you? The tire come off the car as you're driving?
No, but I don't, it's not like I didn't know what to do, and I've done it before, but I've always had other people present to be like, I don't know, that I guess would call me out if I was doing something dumb or forgot something. And I didn't, had no safety net this time. So I was like, oh man, hope I didn't, forget anything or anything like that. But
yeah,
survived.
So you caught a flat on the road, and then you had to repair the flat, and then you went today and got new tires.
No, so it was much more benign than that. I woke up Friday, and when I got in the car, one of the tires was relatively low air pressure, and I was like, oh well, maybe it's because the mornings were getting colder. It wasn't like absurdly low at that point. So I filled it up on the way to the driving range, gave a couple lessons, came back out, got in the car to go home, and the tire was low again. So I'm like, okay. So there's something in here that's leaking. And then, scheduled an appointment to get it plugged Saturday. The day after that, the place ended up canceling the appointment because they were too busy. Then no one else could get me in. Then I woke up the next day and the tire was just, completely flat sitting in my driveway. So I'm like, okay, I got to put the spare on.
Yeah.
Just to be able to get around the next couple days. So
I got you. Well, listen, I'm glad you got your 4 new tires. I'm glad that you're riding clean and not riding dirty. And allegedly, because we haven't ruled any of that off the table. I'm speaking a little bit, outside of my neck because I don't know. You could be rolling heavy right now. You could be out here like Jacob Fatu, all gas, no brakes with it.
Yeah. Yada I mean.
Hey, listen, yada I mean. Welcome to the Lariat Lounge, guys. Thanks for coming out and hanging out with us. Before we get to our regular scheduled programming and our spiel, Skeener, I have some news.
Give it to us.
So, according to, and make sure I wrote this down correctly, according to Rephonics, and Rephonics is a website that aggregates statistics for podcasts all over the world. According to Rephonics, the Lariat Lounge has broken the top 200 of U.S. Apple Podcast wrestling shows. We are number 196.
The number 196 wrestling podcast in the United States.
States.
That's not bad.
No.
Not bad.
For a podcast as young as this one to have broken the top 200 of pro wrestling podcasts for Apple Podcast statistics. So when I looked into it, and the Apple Podcast has a sports section, right? Mm-hmm. And in the sports section, there is a subgenre of pro wrestling. And in that subgenre of pro wrestling, the Lariat Lounge has broken the top 200. So
wow. I'm would never dream that. And that's obviously a credit to all our listeners, our great community out there. And that's pretty cool. That's cool news to hear. So glad someone out there is liking it.
Agreed.
Or maybe they're hating it enough to listen to it a lot. But
they could be hate listening.
They are consuming, and we'll take it either way.
They could be hate listening. I could find 0 reviews. I could find 0 reviews anywhere. So people are listening and they're saying nothing. So I have been advised by my personal assistant matrix, ChatGPT, to ask you all, if you are enjoying the podcast and you're listening and you like what me and Skeener are doing, give us 5 stars or give us a thumbs up wherever it is that you're listening. It's free for you, but it means a ton for the podcast. And by the way, wherever you're listening, you can probably leave some comments. You can probably leave some messages. All those things will be good. But Skeener, if someone is listening to this podcast, like some of my coworkers, and they want to tell their friends who may not know about us and where to catch us, where can they do that?
If you want to tell your friends where the number 196 in the United States wrestling podcast is coming at you, it's coming at you once a week, at least every week, on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify. That's where you can leave us those reviews and comments Everson just asked for that helped us so much. We are over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast. We're throwing up posts. It is now functioning. I've had no flack from Instagram for at least a week. And you also can always feel free to send us an email at thelariatlounge@gmail.com. But let's keep growing this thing together because we are making some progress.
We are making progress. Actually, tangible, measurable progress. So legitimately, all jokes aside, guys, Skeener and I really do thank you. Like, we absolutely, positively could do this podcast without you, but it certainly wouldn't have been what it has been. And it certainly would not have broken the freaking top 200 of wrestling podcasts in the U.S. in such a short time. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you a lot. So we've got Crown Jewel Perth in just a few days. So without further ado, enough with the fluff. And let's get to the stuff. Skeener. First of all, I just want to say that Monday Night Raw, I have to say that what Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes have been able to conjure up for Crown Jewel has, in my opinion, been nothing short of incredible. I also think that AJ Styles and John Cena are making a whole lot of something that was out of a whole lot of nothing. So, you know, and listen, granted, they say that we, the fans, made that match happen. I don't know how much truth there is behind that, but it's a great narrative to rope people in. But your general thoughts on wrestling this week, Skeener? I know you and I are always very dusty when it comes to Smackdown because it's so far away from when we start doing the podcast. Yeah. But in general, the week of wrestling, Smackdown going through Raw. What were you feeling, man? Good week of wrestling?
Enjoyable. Nothing stood out in a bad way. We had all the referees, at least most of them. There was a dirty referee that got on the bad side of Becky Lynch, but
true.
All the referees were acting generally well. Yeah, really good week of wrestling, especially, you know, not to play up just what you said, but I thought Raw was a really fantastic show.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff I loved from there.
I mean, listen, before we get onto the Crown Jewel card, let me just give a big shout out to Maxine Dupree.
Yes.
Like, what a showing. Match. Like, what a showing by Maxine Dupree. And certainly not going to shortchange Becky Lynch because it takes two to do that tango. And Becky Lynch really did a stellar job of allowing Maxine to really get these spots in. And Maxine has been working hard to improve on her craft and improve on what she does. It's great to be in the ring with a veteran like Becky Lynch who can help to kind of gloss over some of the deficiencies that you may have or weaknesses that you may have. But like I said, it really does take two to tango. You know what I mean? Because even when you have somebody who is as capable as a Becky Lynch, who is able to kind of hide some of your newness and some of your greenness in the ring, man, did Maxine really capitalize on those moments? You know what I mean? And really take advantage of the moments where she was able to shine in that match and really make a name for herself. And not to mention, count out included, Maxine won.
Mm-hmm.
Maxine has a W on the books over the Intercontinental Champion, Becky Lynch. So I'm wondering, according to Wrestling Rule 186, if you beat the champ, you're like next in line for a title shot. Am I right?
That is what history would tell us. And yeah, to echo what you said, what a great performance by Maxine, someone that I've had kind of I don't want to say a soft spot because that seems demeaning, but someone that I've really been a fan of just by how much she has just thrown herself into any role and any task they ask of her on the show. But yeah, what a great show. And you can see how far Maxine's come along in the ring. But yeah, that finish is great to have Becky, you know, getting a little tiff with the referee earlier in the match, and then when she's doing the classic wrestler on the outside, not paying attention to the count, that count out speeds up a little bit, and she loses via count out. But yeah, I thought that was an absolutely fantastic match.
Well, you know, that's what you get for messing with the ref. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what you get for messing with the ref. Leave the ref alone. Let the ref do their job.
That was their response to us after all the smack we talked on refs.
Yeah, listen, maybe I should feel bad that the smack we talked got taken out on Becky Lynch, but at the very same time, it seemed like Becky Lynch was talking her fair amount of smack at the referee during that match. And listen, I think that when it comes to playing the straight up campy heel, nobody does it better than Becky. Like, she just really plays that campy, over the top, egotistical, self-deluded heel better than anyone. And it makes for this great opportunity where Becky, who has been at the mountaintop of WWE, to be able to take a step down the ladder, metaphorically speaking, right? And be a secondary champion and really be in a position to elevate people like this. Because Becky's been on top for a long time, right? And when you're on top for a long time and you are orbiting in rarefied air, you have a lot less people that you can dance with without having to bring new people into that stratosphere that WWE may or may not actually want to keep there. You know what I'm saying? In order to keep like fresh faces, as a challenge for you. And I think that sometimes can be detrimental to new talent, particularly if you're trying to find somebody for Becky to face and you don't intend on taking the title off of her. It's almost like you're feeding people to the beast. You know what I mean? And you don't really want to do that. So how do you circumvent that? You put your talent on a level where they can compete with a wider array of superstars. And so, when you look at it in its totality, Becky's rivalry with Lyra was just a great opening, you know what I mean, to something that I think they can roll with for a long time. Like when you're dealing with somebody like Maxine Dupree, all credit and respect to Maxine Dupree. I have all the respect in the world for her as well. But Maxine, if she challenges Becky Lynch for the IC title and she loses to Becky Lynch, Maxine loses nothing from losing to Becky Lynch. She gains everything from being in a title match against Becky Lynch. You know what I mean? But when you're on that really high echelon of the card where you're the world champ, like for instance, Tiffany Stratton takes more. She loses more from taking a loss to someone who is brought up into that rarefied air than Becky does taking a loss like she did to Maxine on Raw. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Because Becky's so established, she can kind of do whatever she wants. But in the few moments right after that match finished, I thought it was very, or at least my mind went to how apropos her chosen moniker of the man was, because that was to me at least, a Ric Flair-like performance from her in terms of elevating someone and making them look really, really good and still losing in the classic heel slip on a banana peel way, where I know Flair would win a lot in a dastardly way, but it was a very Flair-like performance, at least in my mind, and I say that in the best way possible.
Oh, I agree. 1,000%. I absolutely agree. And I love the fact that sometimes a wrestler really understands their character and they know when to turn it on, when to turn it off. But more importantly, Skeeter, they know how to turn it on, right? And what way you turn it on works best for the scenario. I think that Becky walked a very fine line between overselling a loss and selling it exactly the way you're supposed to when you're someone like Becky Lynch. And that's why she's so good. When she took that L via the countout and she just kind of stood there in like stunned silence and she barely moved and you could read every bit of emotion on her face, anger, frustration, confusion, bewilderment, all of these things. She was astonished that she even allowed that to happen, right? And you could read all of that in very few facial gestures. You know what I'm saying? And she just stood there. And it was so apropos. And it allowed someone like Maxine to really exuberantly celebrate. You know what I'm saying? As she hightailed it from the ring. It just worked. It worked on so many levels. So, big up to Maxine for sure, because, you get opportunities like that and to just really take full advantage and sell it. Man, hey, look, shout outs to Maxine. Shout outs to Maxine. And honestly, shout out to Jey Uso. I think he is doing a phenomenal job towing this line as well between being the good guy that the fans really enjoy and love watching and absolutely teetering on the brink of going full Roman, right? And everybody knows you never go full Roman, but he is doing a great job of just playing this role where he's still Jay, but the second Roman comes in and starts saying stuff, right? You see this other side of Jay. Like, we know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about the backstage segment where Jimmy and Jay are talking and Roman's standing in the background. And the second Roman starts talking and he mentions something about what is he talking about? I think he was talking about like they were talking about the tag team match that's coming up, right? Because they're not wrestling at Crown Jewel Perth, I don't believe. No, they're not.
The Usos are not. No, it's just Roman. I'm sure they'll be involved, but yeah,
right. So they wrestled Braun on Raw, and they were talking about that match, and Jay was hot about, I guess, what had happened last week or on Smackdown. I guess he was hot about something. And he just kind of turned to Jimmy and just started berating his brother. And he's been kind of teetering on that brink. But when Roman was there, he just kind of like laid into him a little bit. Just like, where were you when all this stuff was happening, right? And then Roman kind of gets in his ear and is like, you don't need to be worried about anything except what's going on tonight. Right. And the spot that you're supposed to be in. Matter of fact, who is speaking tonight? You know what I'm saying? At the top of the hour.
Yeah, that was so good. Him going who's on at the top of the hour, and I think Jay said something. He's like, "Oh, not you."
Yeah,
not you.
Yeah, it was. He was like CM Punk, and then he was like, "Bet." He went off to go do that. But then the interaction between Jimmy and Roman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and again, shout out to the camera work and Jimmy in the background, like we talked about last week. Because as soon as Roman stepped up to start talking to Jay, they definitely focused on all of Jimmy's unspoken thoughts and facial expressions and emotions that he was showing before they even interacted. But yeah, this was. Keep talking.
No. I agree with you. I agree with you. I mean, it was just wonderful stuff. It was just wonderful stuff. And the interaction between Roman and Jimmy in that moment, man, like, I love that. Just Roman. I love the fact that they're playing very distinct characters, right? And sometimes you can have a situation where, in my opinion, characters can kind of run afoul of the story. And they run afoul of the story when they don't either know who they're supposed to be within the confines of this story, or they don't stick to the roles that they know they're supposed to be playing. And that can happen oftentimes, at least I've noticed, when characters are very popular, right? And they have that ability to kind of vacillate between different aspects of their character if they've got that depth and nuance, and they'll vacillate to garner whatever attention they feel is needed. But I love the fact that in these scenes, man, it's like Roman knows exactly who he's playing right now. This arrogant guy. I mean, he's not like the guy who's always, tooting his own horn, but he knows he's the tribal chief. He knows that he is the head of the table, whether he's got the title around his waist or not. And the way he still talks to Jimmy, is this, I see everything. I hear everything. And why would you tell him to not listen to me? And did Jimmy respond to him in that moment? Or did he come back a little later on?
Not in that moment. I think that was later.
Okay. So yeah, he came later on. And I think in that moment, that was when Roman said something to him along the lines of like, if you really want to help him, maybe what you need to do is get out of his way.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love, dude, where this is foreshadowing. Because when Jimmy comes back later on and he confronts Roman, and, he's like, I hear everything too. And, you're a bad influence on him. And he don't need to be like you. He's better for it. if he doesn't end up like you.
And then later on, you have not only Jimmy, but you have CM Punk essentially saying kind of some of the same stuff to him. So it's nice to see exactly what we like to compliment when we see it, in that these interactions and these characters, they kind of have continuity and affect and weight throughout multiple different stories.
Yeah.
And something else I was just thinking about, and probably because of what I just said and how new of a style of storytelling all this intermingling really is in WWE, I can't remember a time where we've had someone so demonstrably, quote unquote, babyface. Like when Roman's out there with Paul and Braun and Bronson at the top of the show, and he's getting loved and cheered. He's obviously, anyone with eyes and a brain can see, he's the good guy there. Like, he's the guy we're cheering from. But then he comes right backstage, and now he's the bad influence to Jay. It's just, that's a fun dynamic, and it's coming off so seamless. But to just sit back and think that he's like he's 100% the hero in his own story, but then he is the bad influence and maybe the bad guy in Jay's story. It's just kind of a fun thing to witness.
Well, listen, I 1000% agree with you again. And it's what makes for the best villains in movies, particularly in comic books. I love the villain who believes that they are the hero of their own story. And Roman is absolutely that. The audience sometimes has a dual purpose in the storytelling, right? So we've always talked about how the audience is, for lack of a real definition, they have a contractual obligation to the show, and that is to be the audience. So they'll cheer, they'll boo, they'll chant, they'll do all the things that an audience is supposed to do. And they are part of the programming. They're part of the story that's being told, because if the villain is doing what they're supposed to do, they'll boo. And if the babyface is doing what they're supposed to do, they'll cheer. And it makes for the product, and the product tells the story. But the fans and the audience specifically, they serve a secondary purpose as well. And that secondary purpose is to be the proxy for the viewers, the people who aren't there at the show, and to give in my opinion, to give like an internal monologue voice, an actual voice. So in Roman's story, like you laid out and I agreed with, Roman is the hero in his own story. When he goes out to the ring, the crowd loses it. Now, obviously, it's because they've done such a masterful job of creating the tribal chief character and rehabilitating Roman Reigns that the crowd loves him. They love whenever he shows up. He's a bona fide super megastar. And so when he comes out, he's going to garner that praise, right? And he soaks it in. He loves it. He's no longer berating the fans. You know what I mean? He's allowing the fans their undulation, and he's allowing the fans to praise him and allowing the fans to cheer him on. But honestly, when you look at his actions, ain't a whole lot changed, right? He still has the fans acknowledge him. He still talks his talk, right? But he's not really yucking it up with the fans. He's not really playing the babyface role. He's just allowing the fans to love him. And so when he's pitted against someone who is the clear-cut bad guy, in his scenario, it's Paul Heyman, it's Seth Rollins, it's The Vision, right? And in his current feud, it's Bronson Reed. He's the clear bad guy. Roman gets to play the role of the good guy, with the emphasis on the phrasing, play the good guy. Because is Roman really the good guy? Like, technically speaking, no, he's not. Roman is
the guy. He told you this after WrestleMania 33. Don't you remember?
I do.
Not a bad guy, not a good guy. The guy.
The guy. And when you're the guy, right, you're going to get the cheers, but then you can go right backstage and be this terrible influence on Jay. And I agree with you. It's great to be able to see these nuances and these angles and these layers to characters. It's what makes us really care about them.
I think the comic book analogy you used is kind of very fitting here because, like we've kind of hinted at before, Roman Reigns gets to be the star and the hero in the in the Roman Reigns comic series. But when he appears in the Jey Uso, the Jimmy Uso, the Usos comic book series, he's a different role. He's not the hero. He's just another hero crossing over and having an interaction.
Yeah.
And getting to see that stuff, it just opens up so many more avenues than we've had in the past in the way they've told stories.
You're right. You're right. And it just gets to play a very interesting role to Jey, because Jey has just kind of come off of this astronomically big babyface arc for himself, right? The yeet chants, all the yeets in the crowd, the entrance, like the Cinderella run to championship gold. He's had that babyface run, the quintessential babyface run, second only to one Cody Rhodes. And to actually watch Jay's descent is been great to watch as well, because we've watched Jey have to climb the mountaintop of Gunther, right? And go through those hills of self-doubt only to get to the top, right? And he has a good reign, a good title reign, right? But his title reign is kind of mired with a bit of doubt, a bit of skepticism, a little bit of cynicism from some people. And then he loses the title. And now you get to see almost this bit of spiraling for Jey, right? Like he's spiraling out of control in not knowing how to value himself at this point without going after the World Heavyweight Championship again. And so he can't just chill with Jimmy. He can't just be a tag team wrestler again. Like he's got to be in that world title picture. And that's why he will then say certain things to his brother, like, you wouldn't know anything about that. Like that's cold blooded. You know what I mean? Like that is cold blooded. But he says these things because Jey is spiraling. He is spiraling into a place that is not Roman Reigns light, but it is Roman Reigns like. Because Roman, when he was the head of the table with the bloodline, Roman loved his family, but Roman could absolutely be a bit of a dick and be a bit cruel.
Well, and like you said, credit to Jey, because they carried that energy and through line of, the last thing that was said to him is, oh, not you. You're not the guy that's on at the top of the hour.
Yeah.
That everyone wants to see. And as soon as his music hit in that segment, and he carried that energy like someone that just had that said to him.
Yeah.
I thought that was perfect. Because that music hit, and I was like, oh, here we go. He took that to heart.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. And he came right out there to that segment with LA Knight and CM Punk, and he definitely carried that same energy. And I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. I want to say one other thing about Raw and this interaction between Jey, Knight, and Punk. And then we'll jump into the Crown Jewel Perth card. But LA Knight is a grade A talker. Oh, actually, there's two things I want to talk about on Raw before we go to Crown Jewel Perth. But LA Knight is a Crown Jewel talker. Crown Jewel talker. He is a grade A Crown Jewel talker. And he's good at what he does. It's always interesting to see somebody who's good at what they do go head to head with somebody else who's good at what they do. And in that segment, before Jey Uso showed up, was it just me, or did it seem like LA Knight is delivering his prepared line? I can't remember exactly what it was that he was saying, but he was describing himself. And as he was describing himself, he was leading up to say something. And Punk kind of interjected. And he said something along the lines of like, yeah, you're the guy who's never won a championship.
Yeah, something along those lines.
And it just seemed like that line, first of all, it landed like a ton of bricks. Like, it hit hard. Second, it seemed like it kind of threw him off his game for a second. Like, he slipped that in there. Punk did. He slipped that in there. And not only could it have been a mic drop moment, but it was certainly one that roped the fans in. Like, if you had the fans mic'd up, you could have heard the fans go, ooh. Like, it was a really cold line. And I think it seemed like it kind of caught LA Knight off guard just a hair. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And whether, who knows whether it was discussed beforehand or not, but what I like is it's so appropriate to the situation we have, which is seemingly for the last few months, every time Seth Rollins gets close, or not Seth Rollins, every time CM Punk gets close to Seth Rollins and starts talking about it, it's like, okay, it's my shot. It is my time to deal with Seth Rollins. Somebody comes out. And it's like somebody else has got to get involved. So to see him kind of take out that frustration in who it has been most often in LA Knight, like, CM Punk just wants a shot at Seth Rollins, but LA Knight is always in the middle of this, in his way, somehow. So just seeing him send that shot, be it planned or not, it fit the entire mood of where CM Punk, the character, is at for me.
Oh, I agree. And look, LA Knight was also justified in what it was that he said. He was the last person to pin Seth Rollins. And he's been chasing this for a minute now as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And he's been orbiting this picture, but he's never been given the green light to go after it. You know what I mean? And he did make the point that, every time CM Punk gets around the title, it seems to be cursed. Like, you had a very short title run, super short, in fact. And, maybe you should not be the guy who is challenging for the title next. Maybe it should be somebody who hasn't had a shot yet. And he's not wrong about that either. So, the other thing I wanted to mention before we get into Crown Jewel, Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins, their promo backstage.
Yes. Which, before you get into this, I thought about mentioning it earlier, but it's better here. Talking about knowing your character and knowing when to turn it up and what buttons to push. You got to give a shout out to Becky at the beginning of this segment where,
of course,
just like she has been the last couple weeks, like, Seth is really going through it and very obviously going through it and staring at that watch. And Becky is just off in her own world, complaining about the ref and the DQ and all that. And I just love those little touches.
Yeah, it's a great way to keep Becky in front of people and not have it necessarily be about her. Like, we spoke about it before she was formerly a part of the Vision, that it would be great if they brought Becky in as a part of this group. I think that it would just add a dynamic that they don't have. And honestly, shout out to the Judgment Day, because the Judgment Day have been showing in a more modern viewpoint, a new modern sense, that these factions do really well when they're intergender, right? Just to have a difference of energy, you know what I mean? At different elements in the storytelling really help to just spice things up and keep things fresh, because Becky's presence just adds this air to the Vision's interactions with others and with themselves that they just did not have prior to her involvement. So, I think it just works great. And yeah, she's just going off about all these things, not just the match, but just how, I'm going to tell them that I'm not going to perform anymore until they get better refs, because this is a travesty and it should not be happening, particularly to someone like me, the best female wrestler in the world. And it's not just me that's saying it. Everyone is saying it.
Yeah, it's so good.
And meanwhile, Seth is just focused laser-like on this watch. And he's not really paying Becky any attention whatsoever. And Becky storms out of the room to go do her thing, and she's no more aware of the fact that he wasn't paying a lick of attention than, you know what I'm saying, than he was that she was going on and on about whatever she was going on and on about. They're just both in their own worlds. You know what I mean? And they just happen to be coexisting in this space. But man, that promo with Paul and Seth is doing an incredible job, in my opinion, of playing this role of the leader of this faction whose premise is to be the vision of what WWE is going into the future that does not involve it does not involve the methodology that Roman Reigns enlisted or instilled in his bloodline during his 4-year reign as champion, right? And that Seth still does a really great job, as he's always done, of showing a glimpse or glimpses of the character of the, not the character, of the person that is inside the character, right? In a way that is beneficial to the story and not simply breaking kayfabe, right? So he's having this meeting with Paul, and my God, he is just asking Paul, you know, or just telling him I got to win on Saturday. And Paul, being Paul, is just like, of course you're going to win. And then he's just like, but what if I don't? Well, just make sure you don't, you know? And he's like, that's not what I asked you. What happens if I don't? And then Paul's like, you wanted me to give it to you straight? And then Paul just lays it out in plain English. What would happen to Seth's vision, to his faction, the vision, how you're going to lose your sway in the locker room. You're going to lose your sway over Braun and Bronson, right? And ultimately, when they spoke a second time back there, he said, you make me wonder why I chose you.
Well, yeah, because the first time Seth asks him what happens, Paul runs through all these things that are going to happen with the fans and the locker room and the vision and whoever else, but he leaves out himself. Mm-hmm. And Seth obviously takes note of that and says, no, Paul, what happens with me and you if I lose? And Paul very bluntly and so well performed delivers that, well, I'm going to have to start wondering why I chose you instead of my tribal chief. Which I'm not always one to play the what if and what they should have done game. And obviously I don't know where the story is going or what's happening. But in that moment, do we not think, or at least to me, it would have been slightly more impactful, not that it wasn't, but a little more impactful if he had said, I wonder why I'm not with Brock Lesnar, right? Wouldn't that have given everything we've seen? I get it, Roman's there and he's on the show every week, but I just would have loved if he had said, or Brock Lesnar and Brock Lesnar, whatever. Just thrown it in there.
I don't disagree. I don't think I would have preferred it, but that's just from a personal level. But I think from a storytelling level, yeah, it makes way more sense for Paul to say it would make me wonder, why am I not with Brock Lesnar?
Especially since Cody brought that up, what was that, 2 weeks ago on Smackdown?
Something like that.
When he was talking about who makes the decisions. I'm sure he ran that little Brock Lesnar ring announcement by you. Like, if Brock's going to be here and play a factor, let's keep him relevant, even if in name only, in these top storylines. But again, I don't know what's going on or what the plan is, but that's just me fantasy booking for a minute.
No, dude, listen, I totally get that, and I totally understand, and I totally agree. I think that you've been laying out these seeds of Brock Lesnar and the potential that he may stick around, right? Why do you not use this opportunity to keep Brock Lesnar's name in people's mouths? And I get it. Roman is here, but at the same time, I feel like Roman has dance partners that he should get to before he gets to Seth. Because right now we've got Roman and Bronson, right? At some point, we've got to get Roman and Braun Breaker. I don't know if you're going to do...
I mean, that's still on the table. We've got Roman and Breaker to do. and Brock and Breaker. I mean, we got all sorts of things in the pipeline.
Well, see, here's my thing though with Brock. Like,
so many matches, not enough time.
True, but and you know what? I'm kind of not holding my breath on Brock, and the reason I'm saying that is because his appearances are so sporadic, and sometimes it kind of makes me wonder if they are doing the play it by ear thing with Brock. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they may have, it may, or at least the way that looks that way to us, because I don't know what they're doing in the writer's room, but we know that Brock is not going to be a regular performer on this show. He's not going to be a semi-regular performer on these shows. He may not be on the shows much at all, doing anything other than maybe an F5, potentially ripping another garment he's wearing. But he's not going to be a regular on these programs. And so how often do you get him? How do you factor him in? You know what I'm saying, to things? Like, honestly, and this is just my opinion, I feel like WWE stories that they're telling, that they invest in, are strong enough that they don't need Brock's presence. Like, I think it's arguable whether it adds anything, if I'm being honest.
I don't think they don't need it, but my thing is, if he's going to be involved at some point, let's not do what we did last time, which we both, I think, rightfully complained a little about, which was it just seemed like there was not a lot of juice behind Brock and Cena, and something that would alleviate that is, hey, if he's going to come back and be involved in this story, just occasionally throw his name in there, which we liked so much when Cody did it a couple weeks ago. It just seemed like there was an opportunity to do it here that was missed, but that's maybe because I'm writing a different book than they are, or they see the whole picture and I don't, or who knows?
Yeah.
Didn't happen for whatever reason, but I still would have liked it to happen.
Well, I mean, look, we know for sure that we don't know the book they're writing. Like, neither one of us are in the writer's room. So, we don't know what they've got on the docket, but that's not for us to know. And so the only thing we can do is speculate and go off of what we feel and how things feel. And I agree with you 1,000%. It just felt like that was a golden opportunity that
felt like it was there
missed.
for the taking, for sure.
Yes, yeah. And they just walked right past it. And that's why sometimes, Skeena, it makes me wonder what they're doing with Brock. And not wonder in like the sense of they should be doing more with Brock, but why are we doing it in the first place? That's where my head is at, right? It's like, if you have a golden opportunity like this and you don't take it, I have to assume that was done by design, right? I don't think that the wrestlers out there winging these promos. So I think this was done by design. If this was done by design and it was a clear golden opportunity to drop Brock's name because Roman is already here, we already know he's involved, right? Then, okay, what was the decision-making process? Why would you choose to not insert his name at this perfect opportunity? And that was what makes me kind of be like, okay, so why are we using Brock anyway? Because if you were to take him out of this equation, you lose nothing. You know what I mean?
Correct. Like of what's currently going on, not a whole lot.
You don't lose much of anything. And that's why I'm just like, why, if you're not going to use it, why introduce it? Why even bring him into this? Like, I think they did a somewhat decent job of salvaging the Brock Lesnar Cena connection going into the match with Cena at WrestlePalooza. Right? And they did a halfway decent job of doing something somewhat with it and kind of hinting at something in the future afterwards to kind of give that a bit of closure. And then you let Brock kind of ride off. You know what I'm saying? And like you said, and I agreed with, you can drop these little spirit bombs every now and then to kind of keep his name circulating in a way. But if you're going to do that, it needs to be intentional. You know what I'm saying? It needs to be intentional. And you need to be doing it deliberately to foreshadow something in the future. But when you miss these golden opportunities like that, it makes me feel like you're not actually invested in doing that. And for me, it's like an all or nothing thing, right? If you're going to do it, then do it and invest in it and drop these breadcrumbs at calculated moments to keep the storyline fresh. And if you're not going to do it and you're just going to maybe randomly revisit it later, cool, bro. Take it off the burner, right? Put it back there and then just throw it back on, because you've shown, at least with the Cena stuff going into WrestlePalooza and out of SummerSlam, that you're absolutely willing to do that. You're absolutely willing to just pull the card out of nowhere and just throw it down. So if you're going to do that, then go ahead and make a pattern of it. You do a better job of making a pattern of just throwing Brock randomly into things.
Right, which I was thinking of. Like, I still think you can play off like how that Cena match went and reestablishing as him as that dominant force. But I was actually thinking about this yesterday. Now that you talk about just throwing it in randomly.
Yeah.
I'm also fine with if just occasionally Brock just shows up to just ruin whatever's going on. In a way, just like, you're like, here's this guy that can beat everyone, can beat up anyone. And he's just showing up just to get his rocks off and just mess something up and beat someone up. Like, I think there's fun to be had there. But it seemed like they weren't going that way with the interactions with Heyman, and then, like, you know, we've repeated a couple times, Cody bringing it up. Just seems they're stuck in that weird middle ground, and maybe you're right. It's like a wait and see on when we can heat this back up and when he'll show up to work, essentially.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, I agree. And it's like, if that's going to be what we're going to do, you know, okay, cool. You work around the limitations that you have, right? And I just think you should just go ahead and forecast that. At least not to us, but forecast that on your big board and plan around it. That's all I'm saying. You know, ain't no need to harp on this because we've spent more time on this than Lesnar has. So
yes,
you know
hypothetical. I mean? I think we may have gone longer than his last couple matches.
Oh, listen,
that's not true. Maybe the Cena one. He went 20 with Cody. The match.
Listen,
before.
We spent more than 20 minutes talking about Brock and his involvement in this stuff. We've probably spent more time on this than they have in the writers' room on Brock, and that's the problem. Because it seems like it sometimes. You know what I mean? It seems like this was something that they brought up, and then they didn't. And then they brought up again, and then they didn't. And then intermittent in stories, they bring it up again. And when you tally up the score at the end of the day, right, you spent a total of 15 minutes planning something that is so pivotal to these stories. And you probably should be spending a little more time. But anyway, Raw was good. Raw had a lot going on. And obviously, this was the Go Home Raw episode. Into what is, I think, going to be one of the probably sleeper PLEs of the year, because Crown Jewel Perth, for me, seems like it is shaping up to be quite the match. So I'm looking at the match card on Netflix.com. So I don't know if you're seeing it in the same order that I'm seeing it. And I don't know if this is the actual match card order.
I do not think we have received any sort of word on what the order is.
Yeah, so. I wonder. I'm looking at this match card now, and the way they've got it set up here, if I was reading it from top to bottom, I think that this is wrong. I think that it's probably right if it's read from bottom to top. So top to bottom, they've got it listed like this, right? Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. Next is Stephanie
I can tell you that is what they have put the most into, and I would be shocked if that is not closing this show.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that that's probably closing the show. And honestly,
unless we do have one of John Cena's final matches on this show. So I could see that too.
Listen, here's what I would do. Seeing as how John Cena and AJ Styles, they've done a decent job of pouring some promo juice behind this, and as we all know, WWE is the king of these vignettes, these promos, these video packages. They're second to none when it comes to that. So they've done a good job of heating this up very quickly and giving all the credit to the fans for making this happen, even though likely that's not what happened.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I remember they announced this, and I think it was like, I don't know if it was AJ or Cena's post I saw first. And he was like, we listened to the fans. We heard you. They're booking this match. I was like, I didn't hear anyone. Or I didn't see any of this.
No.
Not that it's bad, and I'm sure there are some people that are like, we want to see AJ and Cena one last time. But, like, I don't remember there being a big outcry for that.
No, and look, I think we rattled it off at one point when we were talking about Cena's farewell tour, about the people who he could go up against. I'm sure AJ Styles' name came up. And I'm not saying, like you said, that, people wouldn't want to see this match. And I'm sure that there were some people out there who were probably on a podcast and are like, yeah, hey, so I called for this specifically, and they said that they've been listening to us, so somebody must listen to our podcast. But I don't remember a large swath of the community like, we want AJ, we want Cena. But, listen, you run with it. The fans are into it. And so, listen, I'm not mad at it for sure. But I could absolutely, Skeener, see this going right smack dab in the middle of the card. I feel like Roman versus Bronson probably goes on first. I think you put that match on first because,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Nowadays, we know that there seem to be two real marquee spots on any card, the opener and the closer, right? And so I would think you put Roman and Bronson on first, right? You put AJ and Cena right smack dab in the middle of the card, and then you finish up with Cody versus Seth as the main event, which probably means if you're going to separate the two Crown Jewel Championship matches, right, your match card probably should look like Roman versus Bronson, match 1. Match 2, Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. AJ Styles versus John Cena. Then you have the tag match, Asuka and Kyrie versus Io and Rhea. And then you close with Cody versus Seth for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship. That's how I think the match card should go. It seems like it has some flow there, but I could totally see them maybe flipping the script and putting I don't know. I don't see them putting the two Crown Jewel championships back to back.
Honestly, they've done a good, and I know, obviously it's easier when you've only got 5 matches right now booked, but it seems like 4 of these have some juice and intrigue behind them. The one I would say has a little less is the Women's Crown Jewel title.
Absolutely.
They haven't done as much. They've tried, but I mean, it's obviously tougher, and they've got less history and equity to play off of, both
very true
within character interactions and just those characters themselves with Tiffany and Stephanie rather than Cody and Seth Rollins.
Well, and Stephanie's only been champion for like a week, a couple weeks. She's had
only
no
been
time
a WWE superstar on the main roster for not that long. So that's what I mean.
No, I agree.
You don't have years of history and stuff to play off of, like all the great things we were talking about with Seth and Cody, essentially.
Well, and listen, and check this out. Let's just do a little fantasy booking here, right? Imagine if Naomi wasn't pregnant and she was still the women's world champion. How much more juice would the Women's Crown Jewel Championship match have right now? Because Tiffany Stratton and Naomi's history, they have been tied together for quite a while, all the way back to when Tiffany Stratton was a lackey for Nia Jax, right? And Naomi was still running with Jade and Bianca, right? They had their interactions, you know what I mean? And so you've got more history there. And nothing taken away from Stephanie Vaquer, but Naomi was way more of a character behind her championship than Stephanie is. And she could have taken this thrown together rivalry that happens when you have these champion versus champion matches. She could have taken this to the moon. You know what I'm saying? She could have taken this to the moon, similar to how, in my opinion personally, how Seth Rollins has been taking the feud with Cody over the Men's Crown Jewel Championship to the moon. Cody's been there. Cody's been doing his Cody thing. But I think if anybody should be getting the MVP award for the Men's Crown Jewel Championship hype train, it should be Seth Rollins and The Vision. Because I think what they've been doing off the backs of Cody and Seth's interactions with each other has been what is given this feud all of the juice in the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I don't want to harp on it too much, but yeah, there's just something about they haven't figured out how to make us care about Tiffany Stratton matches.
Yeah.
And we seem to keep running into this problem every PLE.
Yeah. No, they had a contract signing on SmackDown. And
that's right. Yep.
They had a contract signing, and that contract signing went off without a hitch, except for Julia. And who is Julia's manager? I think Kiana James. Kiana James. And they had that little situation with the run in, and they, hit Tiffany from behind. And then Kiana James offers her services to one Stephanie Vaquer. So Kiana James is the manager for all the people who don't speak English well. So the next
she's trying to make that her niche.
Listen, if that is your niche and you can get in that way, look, it works. If it works for you, it works for you. So, do you, boo. I'm not hating. But I didn't finish watching SmackDown. I'm assuming just based on, SmackDown, the way that SmackDown played out, wrestling logic, and the rules of wrestling, because I've been reciting the rules of wrestling this episode, and I've got my rules of wrestling handbook right in front of me, Skeener. That's why all this stuff is coming out, right? But I was flipping the page earlier, and I'm looking at page 76, right? And on page 76, one of those rules is that if you have a championship match that does not have a lot of juice behind it, and then somebody runs in, and the two people that run in are actually wrestlers, and it's right before a PLE, you're probably going to get the two people who are wrestling against each other tagging with each other to wrestle this shared threat right before the PLE. Now, I didn't get to see the finish of SmackDown, but when I was looking through the rule book and I saw that interaction, I thought to myself, that's probably what happens at the end of SmackDown. Now, did you watch SmackDown?
I did.
Okay. Did that happen?
Substitute your nameless wrestlers with wrestler names.
Okay,
and I will tell you.
Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer versus Julia and Kiana James.
Unless I missed it, that did not happen.
Okay, so that interaction that they had was just for nothing? That was just to add some tension to the contract signing?
I mean, seemingly right now, yes. But we don't know.
WWE.
Because we have this coming SmackDown. So
yeah,
I think
we do.
It will happen then.
Okay, listen. Okay.
It did not happen, and as far as I know, has not been announced.
WWE. If you're going to play by the rule book, okay, and I got it here in front of me, believe it or not. But if you're going to play by the rule book, and that rule book states that the two people who are going to face each other at Crown Jewel Perth are going to both be in a tag team with each other to SmackDown before the PLE. That's going to happen this Friday, and they're going to compete against Kiana James and Julia. It's going to be Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer.
I can assume so safely.
If they didn't do it last Friday, I'm assuming they would do it this Friday. But that just lends to what you said earlier. And it's like sometimes when these things come out of the rule book, it's almost like it's part of a holding pattern. And we said this before. I'll say it one more time right here. And like I said, we're not going to harp on this. Like you said, we're not going to harp on this. They just don't seem to know how to heat this up with Tiffany Stratton. And
they've really floundered ever since they made the call to move Naomi over to Raw.
I swear. Like the second she left, and I said it, we said it, right? The second Naomi left that feud, all the heat went with her. All the juice went with her. And it's like they just haven't
figured out where to find it. Again.
I agree. Like they have not been able to figure out. And honestly, all of that, Skeener, is a testament to how freaking good Naomi was. Because it's like you caught this lightning in a bottle with Naomi. And they just leaned all the way into it. And rightfully so, right? Pregnancy is like an injury. Like you didn't see it coming. So, of course, you leaned all the way into it. She's a freaking superstar. And she's operating at a level right now that is leagues above what anybody else on your brand is doing. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, of course, lean into it. You build the division around her. And then, pregnancy happens and she goes away. And now you're just left trying to pick up the pieces. And you just have not found a piece that you can put into that place yet. And it just makes me wonder sometimes.
I mean, it wasn't even her pregnancy that did this one. It was they.
Oh,
they
well,
took her out
right.
of this
No,
black hole
you're absolutely right.
Put her on Raw.
Yeah, you know what? 1,000% right. You're 1,000% right. You're batting 3,000 so far. That is like, you're absolutely right. She cashed in and left the brand. And
you know what? Maybe they knew and were like, we got this, hot, hot superstar on this ascent. We got to get her away from this.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I think I just see it from a slightly different angle. I think they're like, we have this red hot superstar. We've got to put her around other red hot talent to capitalize on this. You know what I mean? And so they sent her the route of women's world champion as opposed to what seemed like the obvious route, which is to have her cash in on Tiffany. But honestly, dude, I still think that would have been the better decision. Like, I still think that would have been a better decision to cash in on Tiffany, particularly with Jade challenge coming around the corner. That would have just been a built-in story to kind of, play off of. But, we don't work in the writer's room and they made different decisions. So let's get to this match card. So,
yes, sir.
Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed. Now,
in an Australian street fight.
Street fight.
The match that Bronson made famous and that made Bronson famous. Yeah, he was such a feared Australian street fight competitor that WWE had to come sign him.
Yeah, they had to send him away because he was too good. He was too good in these Australian street fight matches. Now, Skeener, I was thumbing through the wrestling handbook, and I saw the Australian street fight. And it was sitting right next to the Donnybrook, and it was sitting really close to a Brooklyn street fight. And I'm just wondering,
what about the Miracle on 34th Street fight?
That one was a little bit different because it was in the holiday section.
Okay, with the Halloween street fight as well.
Yes, those were all over there. They had a whole section.
My question was going to be, what is the gimmick that makes this an Australian street fight?
Brother, if we're in Australia, I better see some kangaroos. I better see some kangaroos. Listen, give me an over-the-top street fight. Let's have some kangaroos around the ring. And it's like if you get thrown too close to them, they kick you. That would be, dude, I would write that down as the best street fight I've ever seen in my life.
That sounds more like a lumberjack match.
Dude, if the lumberjacks were a bunch of kangaroos.
See, that's up there with the zombie street fight that they had for what they call that, Army of the Dead. Remember?
I do remember
Miz and Damian Priest.
I do remember
zombie
that.
Lumberjacks.
Listen, as stupid as that was,
that was incredible.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of it. Dude, listen, when you go full stupid, you got me. Like, don't go half. You know what I'm saying? Like don't go half measures. Like, if you're going to do it, do it. Like,
right.
I thought it was so corny that, like, I enjoyed it. Because now I'm just going to buy in, right? It's like, well, of course you don't want to get thrown out of the ring. You don't want to get bit by the zombies. Miz, you better get back in the ring. Like, this could be curtains for you, bro. Like, let me suspend my disbelief, right? And just totally sink in. But, like, yeah, you can't do it half measures, you know? You know what I think about? When The Fiend wrestled Seth Rollins in that red cage and the lights were red.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's a half measure. Okay. That's when it didn't work because you turn the red lights on and the Fiend is in the ring wrestling Seth and Seth's acting a little scared, but like what else is there to really be scared of? Right. Like what they should have done is if you're going to do the red lights, they just need to go ahead and just hire a bunch of extras or get some NXT talent. Right. And fill the entire, like, outside of the ring with that fog for the entire match. And just have the NXT wrestlers, like, lay down and just reach their hands out of the fog, right? Like, just hands coming. If you do that, I change my entire perspective on that match. You've gone full crazy, and I'm all the way here for it. All the way. So, yeah, listen, WWE, if you're listening to this podcast, because we are the 196th ranked podcast in America, baby, according to Apple Podcasts, in the sports section, in the subsection of professional wrestling. If you're listening to this, give me some kangaroos. But Skeener, your thoughts, man, aside from the kangaroos, which that's animal endangerment, and they're probably not going to do that. What are your thoughts on this Australian street fight, mate? Who wins and how does it shake out?
So I imagine it's going to be another really good one between these two, hard hitting. I'm sure we'll get a barricade spot and some tables will be destroyed. And I was thinking, of course you default to Roman Reigns is going to win this, but he already won the first one. Does he win again? Probably, but I have my reservations just because he's already won one.
Yeah.
And I could see them pushing, if they're going to hold off on other things for Roman Reigns, which they may or may not. I'm picking Roman Reigns. I wouldn't be surprised if Bronson Reed wins.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about all of the X factors. All of the X factors that may or may not come into play, particularly when the premise of your match is a street fight. And though we probably will not get any kangaroos at ringside, I think we will get some dogs at ringside. You know what I'm saying? And
I do.
I think we're going to get some Braun Breaker. And because we're going to get some Braun Breaker, and because they're not on the card, and because they just wrestled in a tag match, I feel like we're going to get some Jay, probably some Jimmy, right? Unless Jimmy can't travel. And I'm not trying to be funny, but like Jimmy has historically not been able to travel to these shows. And so if we just get Jay, there's some storyline implications that can come from that. You know what I mean? But could this match end in like a non-finish?
I think if I'm remembering right, Roman did say he didn't want their help, right? And that applies to this weekend. So their attendance is not required, I don't believe.
So what if...
But I'm with you in that I think you would have them show up, right?
Well, maybe we just get Jay. Like consider this. What if, what we get is Roman versus Bronson Reed. And in the course of this match, we get Braun Breaker. He shows up. He's ringside. He's trying to interfere. Roman is, fighting him off. He's handling Bronson. And then at some point, Breaker gets involved. It's a street fight, so there's no disqualification here. Then, out of nowhere, here comes Jay. And Jay comes out here to even the odds, right? And maybe this is how you allow Roman to take an L and not lose the momentum of the story. That Jay comes out to assist Roman, right? And he does to an extent, right? But Roman still takes the loss. It's a hardcore match. It's a street fight match. So it's an easy way for people to get taken out quickly. You know what I'm saying? A chair, a table spot, a ladder spot or something, and somebody's out of the match entirely, right? And this is how you can get a spot that happens where Roman ends up taking a pin and he loses, right? This can work two-pronged for this story. One, because it could have Roman, have a bit of vitriol toward Jay, that he told Jay not to interrupt, and that Jay needs to learn a lesson, that you need to, tend to your own business, right? If you're going to be the top guy, you've got to stop stepping out of line, and getting in other people's business. It's what I've been telling you for the longest time, right? And then he's also run, two-pronged, because Roman could also be very contradictory, right? Like, he could also look at Jimmy like, and where were you? And Jimmy could be like, you said you want to do it by yourself, Big Oos, so I'll let you do it by yourself. I could see them doing maybe a little mini program with Roman and Jimmy to kind of lead into something further. I mean, I'm spitballing at this point. It's irrelevant. But yeah, I could see Roman losing this. I could see Roman losing to Bronson, particularly like you said, because Roman picked up the win on the first one.
Yeah, that's what's throwing off my calculus.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the way it goes down is going to be very much dependent on who interjects himself in this match. If neither one of the Usos show up, which is more than likely going to be the case, I would think that neither one of them show up, and Breaker shows up. Roman takes an L because he's outnumbered, right? I think that would allow for maybe a segue into a match between Braun Breaker and Roman somehow, some way. And it could help further the stuff between Roman and the Usos. But, who's to say? We could find out, some details about this before Saturday, but, it's anybody's guess. So your pick is on the fence? Because I think my pick is Roman.
My pick is the Tribal Chief.
Okay, so we're split on this one. So we got Skeens going for the Tribal Chief, winning over Bronson, taking a 2-0 win over the Vision.
I'm just playing the percentages, and that Roman Reigns will win the match.
I get you. I think I'm playing a different set of percentages because Roman did win the first one, and there's absolutely going to be some Braun Breaker involvement in this match, and so I think that gives an out, and so I think Roman takes the L on this one. I think Bronson Reed wins this match, and we'll see what happens on Saturday. By the way, people, if you did not know, Crown Jewel Perth goes live at 8 a.m.
8 a.m. Eastern.
8 a.m. Eastern. I told my friends at work, I highly doubt we will be live streaming this.
I doubt anyone will be attending if we do.
I doubt we're going to be live streaming this. And I joked with them at work. I said, because, listen, I don't think I can get Skeens up at 8 o'clock to live stream this PLE. And honestly,
you could get me up for a PLE, but that's about it.
We'll discuss
a Saturday night's main event. Probably not.
Listen, speaking of Saturday night's main event, we can talk about that a little bit later. But because you were right, Skeens. You've been right for a few months now. You know what I'm talking about, right?
About John Cena.
Yep. You were right. I didn't want to accept the fact that his last match was going to be on a Saturday night's main event, but indeed it is. So, is Saturday night's main event becoming the new retirement show?
Maybe.
I mean, listen, I guess if you want to make it that, it can be that, because listen, we got Goldberg's last match. Now we're getting Cena's last match. If AJ Styles also does his last match on a Saturday night's main event, I will totally change my tune about Saturday night's main event PLEs, because it's a little retro show to give a farewell to superstars. Hey, listen, I'm down, I'm game. I'm cool with that. So the next match we're going to talk about, sir, Asuka and Kairi versus Io Sky and Rhea Ripley. Man, has the build for this match been great. It has been this over-the-top telenovela about Asuka and her domineering ways, destroying her family and ripping them apart, separating Io from the rest of the family, and Rhea being the frenemy, the enemy who became a friend to Io because they forged a bond through battle. And now they're going to be facing off against each other, the Kabuki Warriors versus Io Ripley. And it's going to be an incredible match. Of course, the roof of that place is going to explode off of it when their hometown girl, Rhea Ripley, shows up, even though, Australia is a big place and she's from South Adelaide. So, who knows if that's actually her home. But then again, where is Drew from again, according to Clash at the Castle? He's the hometown boy.
Where was Clash at the Castle?
His hometown, apparently, even though he's not from there.
I don't even remember.
I know that was just a running gag. It was like he was the hometown. Is
that the one
guy.
They had in Wales? They did. They had one in Glasgow.
Okay,
but I feel like the first one was in Wales, and that was the one they did Roman and Drew, right?
Yeah, I think so. And that was the one where they were heralding him as like, he's coming home. And it's like he's coming home to his country, yeah, but like that's not his hometown. But that's what they do with all the wrestlers, right? And Rhea was back home.
I mean, that's not even his home country.
No, it's not. You're just in the UK.
It's a different country. Yeah,
like you're just in the UK. Like, I mean, listen, at least they're closer. They're closer, to the truth with Rhea in Australia.
Correct.
But Yeah, the roof's gonna blow off that place when Rhea makes her entrance. Yeah, man. So the Kabuki Warriors versus Io Ripley. Who you got in this one, bro?
I'm going to, first of all, I would be remiss to not take this opportunity to heap more praise upon all four of these women. This has just been still great. I mean, every week. This week we got a great, Asuka essentially forcing Kairi into this fight with her former sister Io, and Kairi pleading that she didn't want to fight her. And then at the end of the day, Asuka helps her take the win. I think they got to give Rhea and Io the win here.
Oh,
just for the pop. As much as I want to say the heels are going to win, I don't think they are.
Oh no, I think you're going to give this one to Io. You're going to give it to Rhea. I absolutely. My only question at this point with this feud is at what point during this entire match, the beginning, middle, end, and after the match, at what point does Kairi walk out on Asuka? Because I just have this feeling that either toward the end of this match or right after, whether it's like a beatdown angle afterwards or whether it's during the match, and well, it's probably not be during the match. It'd be better if it happens after. Like, does Asuka put Kairi in another position to have to do something that Kairi doesn't want to do? And Kairi finally has her moment where she grows a spine, right? And she stands up to Asuka. And maybe Asuka and Kairi are beating down Rhea and Io after the match, right? And Asuka pulls out a table or something, or she grabs a kendo stick or a chair, right? And let's say she lays one in on Rhea. And then she's about to do the next to Io. And then she pulls a Roman, right? And hands the chair to Kairi. And Kairi is going back and forth on it. And then she doesn't hit Asuka. She just drops the chair and she leaves. And the crowd goes wild because Kairi stood up for herself, right? And Asuka's livid that Kairi ran out. And then the villain gets their comeuppance right there in the ring via the hands of Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. The crowd goes wild. Their hometown girl stands tall. And Io, who is a fan favorite, gets to stand right there with her. That's my fan booking for that match.
So, to answer your question, yes, she does put Kairi in another position Kairi doesn't want to be in. No, Kairi doesn't stand up to her yet. Because we still got to get to Asuka versus Io. And I think that's where the shoe drops one way or the other with Kairi. Because currently, I'm not so sure we wouldn't be well served with a little Asuka title run. And maybe Kairi, you think Kairi's going to stand up to her, but eventually she just falls in line and helps Asuka overcome Io. But I think Kairi's taking the pin here. We're gonna, as they say in the business, protect Asuka, and we'll go from there. I don't think we're seeing the implosion of the Kabuki Warriors just yet.
I could see that.
There's still some mileage to be gained, because I think you got to get to Io versus Asuka, and I don't see you wanting to take Kairi away from Asuka before that match happens.
Okay. So if Kairi takes the pin, does she then take heat from Asuka moving forward? Asuka definitely laid out the whole
Asuka
thing with her on what was it, Raw, when they set up the match for Kairi versus Io, that you better not lose.
So yes, that's where we build the tension, is that you don't know at some point Asuka's going to keep berating and mistreating Kairi this whole time, and eventually she's either going to turn against Asuka or not, which would be the swerve in the matter. But yeah, I think we've still got at least a month of that to go. I
could dig that. I mean, because I could see it going that way as well, right? I could see Kairi taking the loss here. I could see Asuka blaming Kairi for their loss. And she continues to abuse and berate Kairi. And either you've got a moment where Kairi walks out on Asuka, a la Elizabeth and Macho Man, or you have a moment where Asuka turns on Kyrie and Io comes out to make the save and saves Kyrie. And then you get Kyrie, I don't know, maybe separating from Asuka at some point. But that could be down the line. But either way, like we've said before, time and time again, when you tell good stories and you have viable branches from this tree that you can go down to tell a good story, that's when you know you got something. That's when you know you got something. And this story has legs. And I genuinely hope that other people out there see it the way that we see it, because they've been doing a masterful job, in my opinion, telling this little self-contained story, right, involving these 4 women, and have just done a really great job of keeping it fresh and keeping it interesting and capitalizing on this Asuka Kyrie dynamic that really just kind of came out of nowhere. That whole Kyrie, like, that is so funny the first time. And they just ran with it, and they just made it this thing that now is not just funny, Skeener, but like it has weight, right? Like on Raw, like we didn't even mention the backstage segment where, you know, when Asuka puts Kyrie in that match, right? And Kyrie's like, you know, I don't want to do it, because you need to mention that part, right? But we didn't mention the slap. Asuka slapped the taste out of Kyrie's mouth, right? And the whole crowd was like, oh, like, that, not in like a, oh, that was crazy kind of way. And like, oh, that was foul, right? And then she was like, you better not lose. And it's like, they've just, and then of course, Asuka walks off screen. Kyrie is despondent, right? And then you just hear Kyrie, and Kyrie's look now is not just like a, oh God, I'm coming. Like, it's almost like you're in an abusive relationship.
Yes.
With,
I was gonna say and like a beaten animal almost.
Yes, that's a great way to put that. And you just keep building on that and keep building this tension that now Kyrie is definitely like the unwilling passenger. You know what I mean? Who just wanted to keep their family together, but she wasn't bold enough and brave enough to stand up against Asuka. And now Asuka is fully running amok. Io got out. And Io should at some point try to convince Kyrie to leave. And Kyrie reluctantly will stay and won't leave. And to the point where she has had enough. And then she'll leave Asuka too. It's a great story. And they built it seemingly out of nowhere. So, you know, hats off to WWE and hats off to these 4 women for really pulling together something that could have honestly been just something that they did for Crown Jewel. And then it just goes away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got a lot of big stars here. You've got Asuka, you've got Io, you've got Rhea, and Kyrie is playing her part excellently. But these are 3 big stars. You could have easily set this up for Crown Jewel and then had them go their separate ways and go back into feuds that they quote unquote would matter more. You know what I'm saying, at some point? But it doesn't seem like they're doing that. It seems like they're telling something that's going to have some legs and some depth and some nuance and some time put behind it. So hats off to everybody. So we definitely probably don't need to touch on Stephanie Becerra versus Tiffany Stratton, because we kind of already talked about it in a way. And honestly, there ain't a whole lot to talk about here, except for picking a winner. And I think for me, brother, I think that this is probably an easy pick. I think you give the W to Stephanie Becerra. I see the fact that Tiffany Stratton's title is not on the line. Like, sorry, whoever was who said that on Monday Night Raw that was wrong. Like, title versus title. It's not title versus title. It's for the Crown Jewel title.
CM Punk.
Yeah, got that wrong, Punk. But no, it's for the Crown Jewel title. So nobody actually loses a title.
Which is a ring, correct? I believe.
So when they wrestle the match, the winner gets presented with that oversized Crown Jewel belt, right? And then afterwards, they don't see the belt from ever the first again.
One, but yeah.
They don't see the belt ever again. They're given a ring after that. So I think the belt is there just for presentation only for the match, because the winner will get the belt. But then they get the ring afterwards. That's the WWE lore as I understand it. because I understand that the first crown jewel, the belt they did not get to keep because the Saudis wanted to keep the belt to put in their little museum. And so the wrestlers didn't actually get to keep the belt, which I thought was pretty stupid. But that belt was ridiculous.
So you don't believe Braun Strowman
nope.
has the greatest Royal Rumble belt?
I think he has. I think it. Listen, if he has the greatest Royal Rumble belt, I think it is a. I won't say it's a replica because it's WWE official and they make their own belts, but I think there may be more than one. That's my honest opinion. I think that there's more than one. That there's the one for the night that it happened that is sitting in the museum in Saudi Arabia that they have their wrestling stuff in, and I think that he may have one, but it's not the one he won that night. Just like I think that the belt, well, I know this part because it's been announced by WWE. It's no secret that gaudy belt that was given at the first, was it the first crown jewel?
I don't remember.
I think
I don't think at the first crown jewel they wrestled for any crown jewel titles.
Maybe
I think the crown jewel title was like a last year thing.
Okay, yeah, right. But there was that super big gaudy belt. It was bigger than AEW belt. And
I think that was last year. I think last year they made a big deal about it being the first ever crown jewel champion.
Yes, because Cody's the only person that's got a ring.
Yes, Cody and Gunther, and also that was Nia and Liv, I believe, was the women's.
Okay, yeah. So I think that was the first year that belt was presented, and I think that belt sits in the Saudi Museum. So if they bring that belt back out, it'll not be the one that's in Saudi Museum. It'll be another one that WWE made. And they will probably present it to the winners. And then that belt will go into storage until they do it again. And they'll give them a ring. But yeah,
what about the WWE World Cup?
Dude, I don't even remember. Oh, wait. No, I'm thinking about something else. I don't even remember the WWE World Cup.
I think that was the first crown jewel, and that was the one that was main evented by DX against the Brothers of Destruction.
That's why I don't remember that.
And Shane McMahon won the WWE World Cup.
That is peak Saudi. That's what WrestleMania 43 is going to be. You know, I think it's going to be main evented by DX.
I would not be opposed to Shane McMahon being involved in a way. I don't know if he needs to wrestle.
Listen,
but I'd like to see Shane again.
I would like to see Shane again sitting in the crowd, waving when it shows him and he stands up and it shows his name at the bottom. That would be fine. I don't need to see Shane in the ring again. Like, I don't need to see him. Listen, that's a whole nother can of worms there. But, I mean, we've spoken about it before. And
this shows how interested we are in the women's match.
Well, I mean, I think
where these belts are.
I think your pick is probably going to be mine.
Yeah, Stephanie's going to win, but I'm unsure how Tiffany is going to lose.
Okay.
Because I don't think they're just going to have her take a clean loss, are they?
I think she does.
Yeah.
I think this is a good contest, Skeener. I think it's a good, clean fight. And like, that's all this has been. Like the contract signing, right? That, like I said before I thought about what you presented, that they could have that tag match on Smackdown this week. But their match was just a champion versus champion. It was just standard fare. Stephanie's promo was short, sweet, to the point, and so is Tiffany's. It was short, sweet, to the point. There wasn't any animosity or vitriol because there shouldn't be. They've known each other for 10 minutes. And, now they're wrestling in this match that at the end of the day, unless you build a storyline around it, it really doesn't matter for anything. You don't lose your belt. So, you know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. And it was just a good, clean sportsmanship thing until Julia and what's her name? Kiana James showed up. So I think you have a match here, Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton, and I think Stephanie just wins clean. Like, I think you'll move on from this, right? And you'll be able to use it as something to kind of help fuel Stephanie Vaquer, and Tiffany Stratton just moves on to the next random person that she's facing, you know what I'm saying, defending her championship. Because that's kind of been her run.
I don't know if this is going to happen, but right now, in a match that we're talking about has no juice for us, and we're talking more about fake Saudi belts than the match.
Yep.
This would be a great time to pull something out of your bag of tricks.
Okay.
And get someone involved and cost Tiffany this match and give us something to sink our teeth into.
Ooh.
Right?
Like a call-up.
Just have, or anyone. Return, I don't care. I don't care what you do. Just give us some sort of juice. Let's Stephanie win. Let's Tiffany lose. Everyone's okay.
Listen,
I think if they just have Tiffany wrestle this match and lose, that's like a kiss of death for her, at least in terms of how she is being viewed as a champion. I
could see that. I mean, I could see that. I guess so. Here's the question. Giving this little segment a little bit more legs than we were going to, or maybe it deserves. But how would you do it? Like, I'm thinking you could go pure WWE.
Yeah, I just don't know who. I'm fine if someone shows up in the old black mask and just attacks Tiffany, and it's oh my gosh, that's such and such.
Oh, listen, I'm down. Like I'm totally down, right?
Because otherwise, I don't think we care that much.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm like making something up to make us care.
Yeah. So yeah. Now here's my only concern with that. It taints Stephanie Vaquer's victory, right? Like if she still goes for the pin after that and it's not a non-finish, like she hasn't been presented as that type of character that takes shortcuts, you know what I mean? At all. Even in like the characterization that they gave her leading up to her championship match, right? How she just fought all the way through the Chilean wrestling circuit and through Japan. And you know what I'm saying? All of these things, it's never been about taking shortcuts. It's about going at this the hard way and making it here. So the idea that somebody would run in with a black mask on and take out Tiffany, and then Stephanie would just take the win. Like, unless Stephanie is like outside the ring incapacitated.
What if she doesn't see it?
And she doesn't see
that all the time. It's not really her fault.
No, it's not. And that could work. That could work. If she's not in the ring.
So to me, that would be a lesser concern than this is the fourth straight PLE we're sitting here talking about us not caring at all about the Tiffany Stratton match.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, listen,
that's the problem I'm trying to alleviate.
I'm with you.
Wishfully or otherwise.
Listen, I am all the way in for a run-in. I am all the listen. If there's one thing that I love almost as much as like a big return is a debut or a call up. I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And as much as I enjoy seeing new talent come up onto the main roster, I don't like soft intros. I don't like a soft intro. Like, I am a fan of Javon Evans, right? The fact that he's just been showing up on Raw and, he's just been in matches is really foreshadowing the fact that he's going to be on the main roster very soon, right? Kudos to him. But, man, I just love, you could set me up like bowling pins, brother, right? To where like I see it coming. Just give it to me. Like, if you did Sami Zayn having his U.S. Open Challenge, right? And it's like, is there anyone in the back who wants to take a shot at the U.S. title? Come get some, right? And then Javon Evans' music hits and he comes out and challenges for it like he did. But that was his debut. Like, if you just told me that was his debut and that he's on the main roster now, boom, I'm cool. But this soft intro, without making it very clear that he's on the main roster while he's still doing stuff with NXT, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It doesn't land the same.
It's been like, that's kind of been the MO lately.
Yeah.
They've done that with a lot of people.
Yeah. Honestly, the last time I feel like they did it for real was with Carmelo Hayes during the draft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
then I think even he still went back down and did a few things, right?
He may have
still like cleaned up some unfinished business with Trick,
it wasn't a clean break. You know who I think they could really do that with, and like really blow the roof off of any place that they're in, and just debut this person and have them be on the main roster, just full stop. You know, who I think they could do that with freaking Trick Williams.
Yeah, because we had on didn't we have a whoop that trick chance on Raw?
I think so. They may have.
I forget who it was. I think it may have been Asuka and Io on the outside of the ring or something. It was someone on the outside of the ring, and I remember hearing the crowd in a whoop that trick chant.
Dude, his intro would blow the roof off of a place, right?
Right.
And if they do it right,
everything else, when the entrance is that good, I don't want to say doesn't matter, but you can figure it out.
Yeah.
If you have that to start with, you've got all you need.
I agree. And I think I know what you mean, right? Which is like, you don't have to have a perfectly curated story to debut someone when you've got an entrance like that. And, you know, you can set up something like what I was saying, like with the US Challenge, right? You could do something so campy, so overdone. You know what I mean? The blueprint has been laid many moons ago. But it's like when he debuts and that drum roll starts, and the crowd's going to lose it. And it's just, that's going to be a great debut. And he's primed. He's ready. I think that what they've been doing with him in TNA has been simultaneously giving him more reps while also just fine tuning this character. So when he hits the main roster, he is ready to go, because I thought he was ready to go a while back, but I can understand why you let things marinate just a little bit longer so that all the rough edges are made straight. But, and look, granted, it's very interesting how talking about this Tiffany Stratton match has had us talking about everything else.
Again, yeah, that's what I mean.
Except this Tiffany Stratton match. And listen, this is no disrespect to Tiffany Stratton. Like, it really isn't. It's just a matter of piss poor booking. WWE has just not done a good job of recovering after removing Naomi from that women's title scene. And I think all the blame falls on WWE's shoulders. You just have not done a good job with this one. And listen, we give you a lot of praise, WWE, for all the things you do right. But this is the Lariat Lounge. The reason people come here is because we give honest opinions. This is the smart takes, hard hits part, you know, and the real talk part. And we try to keep it honest. You just have not done a good job with booking Tiffany Stratton well. And I think it's costing her. And I think you're doing her a genuine disservice. But we come to the last match on the card, Skeener. Old Cody Rhodes versus Seth.
We have not.
Oh, what?
Because you're forgetting John Cena.
I skipped Super Cena and AJ. I skipped Super Cena and AJ. So okay,
which does not have a lot of story to talk about.
No, it doesn't. But we're certainly not going to skip it. So John Cena versus AJ Styles. I think that this is just going to be a really good match. I kind of feel like John Cena's farewell tour has kind of turned into playing the hits on the way out. And that's fine at this point. You know, I think my opinion is that after what I felt like was the fumble going into SummerSlam, when you just pulled Cena haphazardly out of his heel turn with a stern talking to from Cody, to me, I felt like the ball had been dropped. And if you're not interested in picking it back up, just go ahead and just, you know, kneel a few times, you know, let the clock run out and play the hits. I felt like it was kind of a misstep, in my opinion, bringing Lesnar in. But if it's a one and done and it's just to play the hits, sure, that was a hit on his, you know, in his list of hits. So if you're just going to play the hits, okay, play the hits. I can appreciate John Cena for John Cena being here. We can revisit all of these great little feuds. And if you set me up to where I can just go ahead and remove the storytelling aspect of this from it, then I can enjoy it for what it is, right? Which is John Cena wrestling his most legendary opponents one last time before he makes his exit. And I can appreciate it for that, right? When you start intermingling other things like these intricate story beats and a heel turn, well, then you've got me invested. So don't get mad when I get invested. You know what I'm saying? And don't get mad when I'm let down by your lackluster storytelling and poor plot points. But if we're just wiping the slate clean and we're just getting the AJ Styles versus John Cena match because, damn it, Skeena, the fans demanded it.
It's what I've heard.
That's what I've heard too. I guess we were demanding it. I didn't know we were, but I guess we were. But if we're just getting a clean match, bro, it's a clean match. I think John Cena goes over here. I don't think he takes 2 L's in a row. And you don't have a young, fresh, up and coming talent to put over here with AJ.
I think I'm in lockstep with you there.
Yeah, I think Cena. I think they wrestle a great match. I think Cena just wins. I think they shake hands afterwards. And I think they move on to the next match. I think Cena gets an ovation and a bunch of thank you Cenas in Australia. And I think they cut to some video package. Or if you're not watching Peacock Premium, you're going to get some ads, probably some Slim Jim stuff. But yeah, I think that's how that goes. So I mean, you mean
ESPN, because Peacock is no more, brother.
That's right.
If you turn into Peacock, you ain't gonna be there.
That's true. So okay, dang, I'm gonna have to turn the VPN on again.
Yep.
It doesn't bother me. It just messes up with the syncing of things for live streams, but we'll figure it out. I need to take a class on live streaming, so I make sure I get all my ducks in a row. But now we can get to what is honestly, in my opinion, undoubtedly the main event.
Yes.
Cody Rhodes versus Seth freaking Rollins for the men's crown jewel championship. This has had the most build, the most story, and rightfully so. Like we said before, we said it earlier in this show, but they have been doing a masterful job telling this story between Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins, and Seth and his need to win. He needs to beat Cody, because if he doesn't, he is invalidated in a way that, according to Paul Heyman, would be cataclysmic for what it is that he is trying to do. And honestly, I don't disagree. If Seth loses his match, you cannot claim to still be the visionary. You cannot claim to still be the face that should be running this place. You can't claim any of these things, particularly because Cody still holds a 3-0 over you. I can't see you continuing to hold the top spot in your faction if you take another L to Cody. And even if I were to fantasy book storylines that would come off of Seth taking an L, which I absolutely could. I'm booking one right now with Braun Breaker turning on Seth. But I just don't think you bury Seth in that way. And that's a term that I very, very, very rarely use, because I felt like in the last few years, it was overused by a lot of people. And I don't think it would be a bury in the sense that most people would use bury with, but I definitely think it's like, how do you keep the credibility on this dude if he takes a 4th L to Cody and he's supposed to be this visionary who's got this vision for the future that should be molded in his image? Under what premise, sir? So, you may be the world champion for sure, but you also then cement the idea that the World Heavyweight Championship is the secondary belt. Full stop. So, first of all, Skeena, since this is our main event, let me know your thoughts first, and then let's pick our winners.
We've waxed poetic about the storytelling here, and I think that's very, very well deserved. I'm with you. A lot of where we're going with Seth Rollins in the near future in terms of, I think let's call it what it is. The timing of the implosion of this version of Seth and the Vision is pretty much what this result comes down to, which is, if he loses, how does it not implode now? If he wins, we stave that off for a while. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and lean that Seth wins this match. I'm more interested in this one on how he wins this match. And is it vision interference? And then we have, does Cody now have beef with the vision? And, I don't think this is one where I know I already threw out the idea of interference with the Tiffany Stephanie match. That's more wishful thinking. I think you've got to have something here, right? Because Seth isn't just going to beat Cody and beat Cody. I don't think that's the role Cody's in. Maybe I'm wrong. But I would think someone has to get involved. My hot take is that we are getting Drew McIntyre. That causes Cody to lose this match.
Okay.
You know what? I forgot about the Jacob Fatu stuff. Never mind. Everyone pretend I didn't just say that. Because they're obviously doing something there.
They are.
So I don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
scratch that from your memory. It may or may not have happened. But yeah, I think Seth wins, and I think it is through some sort of outside interference.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Listen, I will go ahead and cast my ballot as well for one Seth freaking Rollins. I think he has to win this match. I think from a storytelling perspective, there's no world where him losing this match does anything but expedite the implosion of the Vision. And I just don't think we're there yet. So, I think he takes this W, and I think Cody takes the L. I do also agree that there is going to be some Vision stable interference, right? Bronson is literally already there. And I definitely think that Braun Breaker is also going to be there. So if we don't get the interference in the Roman Reigns Bronson Reed match, we're absolutely getting it in the Cody versus Seth match, right? And my question is, what happened at the end of Smackdown this past Friday with Cody and Randy? Because I didn't get to see the end of the show.
Oh, you're right. There's a Randy Orton factor in all this I didn't think about.
So I don't know what happened at the end of that show because I didn't get to watch the end of it.
So the Bronze won the match.
Okay.
And then Seth tried to come out, and so the finish of the match was Seth came out. Seth tried to hit the stomp on Orton and didn't work out, but then Reed hit the tsunami into Orton. Then Seth went after Cody, but Cody hit him with the crossroads.
Okay.
Man, I kind of forgot. Is this do we finally do Cody Randy? Is that where you're going, or is that where I'm going?
I mean,
I think maybe that's where I'm going. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking, because I'm thinking to myself.
Because I think he did do the old stare at the belt again. The signature Randy Orton move.
Yeah. Well, and I'm also wondering who would be Cody's dance partner right now anyway. Because Drew is... If
we're moving Drew away, yeah.
Drew has been moved away to Jacob Fatu. So Cody doesn't have a dance partner going into Survivor Series. And will it be Randy right away? Maybe not. But Paul laid out the groundwork on SmackDown at the top of the show, right? And he laid it out pretty blunt that when you lose to Braun and Bronson, either Randy gets pinned and he blames you, Cody, or you get pinned, Cody, and Randy blames you. And he didn't say it, but I'm sitting here thinking about like this video that I watched on YouTube that went through like Randy's most savage moments over the years. And it just reminded me of how the character of Randy Orton is so vindictive and he's so spiteful. You know what I mean? And it's like he can turn on a dime. And we've been teasing over the course of some time this story to unfold between Randy and Cody. And I was thinking
ever since Cody won the title back almost. I said WrestleMania, SummerSlam. But yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, what better way than to maybe introduce Randy into this equation? You know what I'm saying? Like, you bring Randy into this equation. What if, because the Crown Jewel Championship is on the line, right? And not their individual championships. And because of that, anything can happen, right? And so I'm like, what if Randy gets involved here and causes Cody to lose? And Cody loses, Seth gets his win, right? And that's all he needs to validate himself, right? And the Vision can move on from this while constantly referencing it, because I think it should be referenced because it happened and it should be, and it's part of their lore now. But for Cody and Randy, this leads into something totally new that we haven't seen yet, which is Randy taking direct shots at Cody. It seems like it's a little stark, but we've got another Smackdown right before Crown Jewel.
Yeah, that's what I keep forgetting about, is we've got this, this additional Smackdown.
So that could give us something else to play with. Plus, I just don't think Paul would introduce something like that so blatant and so clear, right? And it have no payoff, particularly if the tag match last week ended and there wasn't any payoff directly, right? They got to be leading to something, and you're not going to put that payoff on the Smackdown right before Crown Jewel. It seems like you would have some sort of interaction between them that, may cause Cody to lose. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we are in lockstep here as well, too. I think Seth Rollins wins this.
I'm ready to have more Randy Orton in my life.
Listen,
feels like it's been so start and stop this year since Cena. Like, he'll show up every once in a while, and I get it. Like, he's earned the right to do that, but like, I think it's time to pull the trigger now on the Cody Randy stuff.
Yeah. Look, Randy may not say it, but it's inevitable because time stands still for no one.
Yeah, we might as well pull the trigger while we can.
Pull the trigger.
And it seems like if you're not doing Drew, you're right. Who else is Cody going with right now?
Yeah, I mean, because look, honestly, let's just be real about it. We've got a number of wrestlers from this particular era of wrestling who are winding down. You know what I mean? They're winding down their full-time careers, or they're winding down their careers entirely, right? Cena. And, if AJ is sticking to his word, right, he's probably going to be winding it down next year. Randy's not wrestling nearly as much. We haven't seen Sheamus, since his loss to Rusev. You know what I mean? Like, this era of wrestlers in that bucket, they're getting older, dude, and they're winding it down. And so I agree with you 1,000%. Again, you're batting 4,000 now. Like, do it while you can. Don't take the chance. You know what I mean? Because anything could happen. It's professional wrestling. Anything could happen. Randy could get injured. Cody could get injured, right? And then you've missed the opportunity because Randy ain't got but so much time left on his clock, professionally in the ring, I think. So he's probably working less dates, and as we've heard with people like The Rock recently, and it's not that we didn't know this, but, it takes a lot to stay in that type of shape and to put your body through what wrestling demands of you. And as you get older, a lot of these guys take more time away because it takes more to stay in shape and it takes more to nurse injuries, right? And like you said, they've earned the right. They've earned the right to reduce their schedule. And so, you get people start thinking about other things and about what life looks like after wrestling because you can't do this forever. And so Randy is likely winding his full-time wrestling schedule down. And so, yeah, do it while you can. Maybe this is one of Randy's few remaining full-time feuds that he'll do. Because I remember when he did Cody's podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things that he mentioned very clearly was that he wanted to do this feud full stop with Cody before he retired. And I think that because of their relationship with each other, I think that you would have not only Cody and Randy leaning fully into their relationship and really pulling on the heartstrings of everybody who watches this in a way that maybe we haven't seen in a while, right? But you also have, I think, the centerpiece of the WWE writing team behind this as well. Because Cena's definitely winding down by the end of the year. Saturday night's main event will happen before December. So Cena will be done. They will be done with that, right? And then you can focus on the Seth and Punk and Roman in that sphere. And then that leaves Cody's dance card wide open going into WrestleMania. And there's plenty of time between now and Mania 42 to set up a great story arc for Randy and Cody going into that Mania. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I'm ready. I'm ready for some more Randy Orton. Him showing up and, makes me remember how awesome Randy Orton is.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes if you don't see these guys, you forget.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Well, they do say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So, the less we see of him, I think the more impactful his moments on screen are, which is even further reason why you go ahead and pull the trigger on this. While it's still red hot, and you can really paint a great story, for this, particularly if the man is winding down. So
did we differ on any results?
So I think we differed on Roman and Bronson.
So you think Bronson's going to win?
I can see a world where that happens. Yes. Okay. I don't think Roman goes 2-0.
That's the way. See, that holds me back, but I also don't see Roman losing a second one. If he loses, they're definitely doing a third, right?
I mean, maybe I could see that, what I'm saying? But it really depends on, in my opinion, it depends on what they do with Seth coming out of this Cody thing. Because I think that Seth wins that match. We both agree on that, right? But if they're moving away from Cody, which I see why they would, because this Crown Jewel Championship is the only reason that they're intersecting right now. Because Seth was on a very different direction, literally the PLE before Crown Jewel. It was all Seth and Punk, right? And then it was Seth and Becky versus Punk and AJ. And that was their thing. And that feud ain't over. So I can totally see Seth going back in that direction of Punk. And that leaves Cody wide open. So if Seth is going back in the direction of Punk, then I feel like Roman is probably going to be centered more around what's going on with Jay. And if he has an angle of his own, which honestly, you got to remember, man, this is Roman. Like, Roman goes on these sabbaticals and then he's gone for a while. So do you really put him in another program with Bronson? You know what I'm saying? Going into a third match? Maybe it's possible. Maybe he takes the L here and then you have a tiebreaker and he wins that one. I just don't see Bronson taking, going 2-0. You know what I mean? I just don't see that. And particularly because they've been doing a really decent job of putting Bronson in front of the audience and kind of building him up, and that tsunami to be a devastating maneuver. You know what I mean? Like, even so much so that they pivoted to the jagged edge as his finisher. And like the tsunami is just a destroyer. And so, yeah, I think they've done a good job of building him up. So I think if you put Bronson with the W on this one, you could run it back for a third one. And I don't know, that just leaves what do we do with Braun Breaker? Because he's kind of in free float right now.
That's what we'll be talking about next week.
That is what we'll be talking about next week, along with the results of Crown Jewel Perth. So please check out the PLE this weekend. Listen, I give you full permission to not watch it live. Okay? I give you full permission, everyone, to sleep in on a Saturday. You've earned it. If you want to get up and watch it at 8 a.m. Eastern time, be my guest. But I'm going to tell you honestly, your boy's probably not going to make that 8 a.m. deadline. Maybe if I'm up and I have nothing to do, but I do my best thinking in the morning. And I kind of like to have my mornings and kind of get my thoughts together and stuff like that. And every now and then when there's a PLE early, maybe I'll catch it. But I don't know if I'm going to be watching it live. But I can tell you this right now. Do not tune in this Saturday to Lariat Lounge Live. Because we will not be live for this one. So make sure you tune in next week for the reactions to Crown Jewel Perth, so you can get all of our reactions and the fallout from this. Like I said at the top of the show, I think this card has shaped up to be really something great. And there's been a lot of good stories, saying one match, that are going into this PLE. And I think that this could be a needle mover for some of these stories too. Like there could be some real pivot points here that could happen with some of these. Even with the Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins match, right? Where they don't really have a direct story that's being told with them that's moving forward. The storyline here that's contained within this match is freaking awesome. And there will be implications for what happens after, because there's pathways for both of these wrestlers to go back into their respective stories, and we get some further beats from there. So tune in next week, catch up to what me and Skeens are talking about, share your reactions, and please, 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 if you're enjoying what we're doing, leave us a like, give us a 5-star rating on wherever it is that you're listening to this podcast. It's free for you. It takes a second, but for us, it's huge. Skeens, let them know where they can leave these 5-star reviews for the critically acclaimed, the 196th ranked pro wrestling podcast in the United States. And it's not just me saying that. Apple Podcasts is saying that. And what's that other place? Whatever. They're saying it too. A lot of people are saying it. But Skeens, let them know where they can co-sign for us wherever they listen to their podcast.
You can leave those reviews on all your favorite podcast platforms, be it YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you get your weekly podcast. That's where we are, and that's where we would greatly appreciate those few clicks you can do to help us out. We're also over on Instagram at the Lariat Lounge Podcast, now unencumbered by AI moderation. And as always, the inbox is open at the Lariat Lounge at gmail.com. So please keep supporting us and taking us to newer heights like you have.
Seriously, guys, we appreciate it. And, you know, I'm probably going to adopt some Becky Lynch into what I'm doing now. So don't be surprised if you start hearing more and more corroborating voices telling us that this podcast is really something special. So, but we appreciate you guys. We could not do this without you. And we appreciate you showing up each week and listening to what two wrestling fans have to say about something that they love, which is the world of WWE and professional wrestling. We really do appreciate you. So, from your host, Everson Godfrey, co-host Andrew Skeens, this has been another edition of the Lariat Lounge. Please watch yourself on the way out.